Hello again. Welcome everyone to another edition of Couch Conchology. In a previous video, I said I would talk about crabbed shells. I had seen some identification labels on some of the shells that included this term in the collection information, and I wondered just exactly what crabbed meant. So I asked one of the shell sellers at an event what that is, and I was told that it simply means that the shell was being occupied by a hermit crab when it was picked up. A hermit crab has the need to protect its soft abdomen in an empty shell, either a marine gastropod or a land shell, and either one of those works pretty good. Land shell's even more perfect sometimes. But hermit crabs will give up their shell home if there is a better one immediately available for them. In the video about shells from pet shops, I mentioned that some shells are crabbed. Specifically, these would be ones from marine aquariums and also shells that land hermit crabs have used. So let's have a little bit of a closer look at some of these shells and the crabs, and we'll talk about those a little bit too. I have kept both land and marine hermit crabs as pets, and I will add that their successful care is not that easy to achieve, and people really need to be made aware that hermit crab starter kits sold in the stores don't cut it at all. That being said, shells that are crabbed can be amazingly good additions to a collection. Mostly the reason for this is because the crab cares for the shell by keeping it from being tossed around by water currents. Another reason is hermit crabs have a knack for finding rare shells. These are land hermit crabs that have been preserved. These were collected several years ago from different places. And it gives you an idea of some of the shells, the condition, some of the shells. Now, I will start by saying that this hermit crab, this is the land hermit crab Cenobita brevimanus, and it was not collected in this shell. This shell is way too nice. Somebody took this very nice Murex and put this crab in it and glued it in to make it sell better. So, but this is more like what you're going to see with crabbed shells. This is Cenobita compressus. This shell is very beat up, looks terrible, undersized for the crab, but the crab was using that for its home. This is Cenobita clypeatus from the Caribbean in a what they call the magpie shell, which is a bit beat up too. This one is the species Cavipes from Thailand. Shell is not too bad, but it's not great either. This one is Perlatus, which is in a turbo shell that's a little bit on the beat up side too. The hermit crabs will, what they'll do is they will have a limitation on what is available to them, and so they seem to be a little bit more particular about the fit than what the marine hermit crabs are. And oftentimes a shell will be handed down so many times and so long that the internal part of it will be completely worn out, the point that the central axis is completely gone. As you can see here in this land snail that was used by some land hermit crabs, that it is just completely hollowed out in there. Usually there's a central axis in here that the shell winds around, and the hermit crabs have worn that completely down where it's pretty much gone. But they'll still use the shell. And a marine hermit crab also, and a land hermit crab will, this is a crab shell from a pet shop, they will trim this edge with their claws. They'll reach around and trim this to make the fit better. And the thing about that is if you do keep crabs, hermit crabs, as pets, don't give them the really nice pretty shells, because they can and will do this trimming and tear up really nice shells. Here's a shell that I found in the shallow end of a freshwater lake here in Kansas kind of an interesting story with this that I can only surmise what really happened. This is a marine species, Strombothalatus. I'm thinking what might have happened is that someone picked up a shell on a beach while on vacation and perhaps didn't see the hermit crab in it until they got home. Maybe they made an effort to save it by putting it in the lake. Of course, it would not survive in lake water in Kansas. It really is not a very good shell, but I kept it because of the unusual locality and the probability that that's what happened, how it got in the lake. The other thing is the marine hermit crabs. This is Dardanus magistos, rather interesting specimen. They will also carry, and some of the crabs will also carry anemones on their shells. And when they change shells, they will carry the anemone with them. They'll take it off the one shell and put it on the other, which is a really interesting thing to watch them do. These shells are hermit crab shells from the coast of Georgia. These are marine shells with marine hermit crabs in them. They're not too bad shells there. Then there's this little Strombus gigas that is from the Bahamas. It's a juvenile shell, of course. It's very small, but there is a little bit of a hermit crab you can see in there. They draw in pretty far, so you don't always get to see. That is how the hermit crabs get brought home, is they can pull in so far you don't see them. So this is another example of a marine hermit crab. Now the shells that I have gotten in my collection that are actually crabbed shells, this one came from the Philippines, and it was probably priced about 75% less than what a typical shell would have been of this same species. So it was quite a bargain. These two harpa shells came from Hawaii. They're rather nice shells. They were found in crab traps in fairly deep water, and they're very nice shells as well. This is a Tana melanostoma, came from Hawaii also. That was a crab shell. It's a little bit chipped on the lip there, and probably that hermit crab did that. Overall, it's a nice shell for the collection. And then back again to these land snails. These are probably from Ecuador. The color is really not too bad on these. I have another one that is in better shape, but the color is not as good as these crab shells. So you just kind of can look around and see what you can get, and just remember that a crab shell won't be perfect. It has its hazards and flaws with it, but it can be an affordable way to add some rare shells to the collection. So I hope you found this video interesting and informative, and we'll talk about something different next time on Couch Conchology. Thanks for watching.